Hello and welcome to this video tutorial from Computergaga.com, and in this video we are going to look at how to use the merge queries of Power Query as an alternative to the VLOOKUP function. So we are going to go through some different demonstrations of classic VLOOKUP scenarios and see how the merge queries of Power Query can achieve them too, and look at maybe some of the advantages of Power Query over the VLOOKUP function. Now this video is not intended as a beatdown on the VLOOKUP function, because I think every Excel user loves the VLOOKUP function. It's so useful. And sometimes you just need that information, you need that data, and you can just bash out a VLOOKUP, convert them to values if needed, and you've got what you want. But we are going to speak about some of the advantages of merge queries and how they can do things that VLOOKUP cannot do, or cannot do anywhere as easily as you can achieve them with merge queries. And I guess the key one is the ability to work directly with external data sources when using Power Query. We do not have to dump that data into our spreadsheet before we can then write a formula to reference them and do what we're trying to do. In this video, the data we'll use, the examples we're going to use, the data is on a spreadsheet. But the biggest strength that Power Query has, one of them, probably the biggest one, is the ability to get straight to that external source, that text file, that database, that website, whatever it may be. We're just using data in the spreadsheet in the video for simplicity. Another one will be the ability to return multiple columns with just one query. We don't have to write a separate VLOOKUP for every column of information we want to return. And this will make your spreadsheets leaner and meaner by cutting down on that processing power. It also means we can get it done quicker. We can also look up based on multiple conditions. This is a very common question when doing lookup formulas, whether it be VLOOKUP, whether it be index match, is how can you include multiple conditions? And using a formula, we normally have to create helper columns, concatenate them, or write an array formula, or do some kind of technique like this. It's going to be very easy with Power Query, and you'll see an example in this video. What we can also do is create other steps. So in that one query, we can also apply some formatting, we can remove bad rows. So if you think how VLOOKUP returns the #A error if there's a kind of bad row or it hasn't got data ready yet, these things can all be cleaned out within that one query. Just a one refresh will do it. We don't need to write additional formulas or any kind of manual tasks. So let's start having a look at some of these examples in action. So in this first example, we have a classic VLOOKUP. I have a list of members and a membership type, and I've got another table, another sheet, which has got different types of memberships and their price. And I would like to bring the price into this table. And you would typically use a VLOOKUP to do that. We're going to use a merge query. Now the first thing we need to do, we need to set some groundwork, and we need to put our ranges into tables. Now this has already been done here. If I click inside this range, I can see a design tab at the top under table tools, and this table is called members. And on the other sheet, this table is called prices. If you don't put them in tables, and let's be honest, they should be anyway really, then Power Query will put them in tables for you. So I guess you don't have to do it at this point, but they will ultimately end up in a table, and we might as well get that done. You can do that by just clicking somewhere in your range, click on Home, Format as Table, make a selection, and then use that Design tab to name them. But I don't want to spend too much time on that here and now. The next thing we need to do is create a query for each table. So if I click inside this members table and click data at the top and click from table range, this will open up the Power Query editor, and in here you can see that the query settings on the right, I already have a name for this query. It's just taken the name of the table, and I'm quite happy with that. I shall just click the close and load drop down on the home tab up here, close and load to, and I'm just going to select to just a query connection. I can then just click OK, and we will need to repeat that step for the other table as well. I can see the connection created in the right hand side here in my queries and connections pane. With our two connection queries now established, I can see I have my members and prices connection queries on the right. We now want to begin the merge query. And there are two main ways of starting it. I can either click data, get data, combine queries and merge, but please bear in mind, depending on your version of Excel, the steps may differ a little. Or from the right hand side, I can right mouse click the members connection and merge from there. And if I click on merge, that will open up a merge window. The members query already selected there, the members table, because I right mouse clicked on that one. Another drop down provided so I could select the other table. Then within that tables, I would need to select the two columns that are going to kind of match and recognize each other. So if you think back to VLOOKUP, you establish the lookup value, and then you select the table array, and the first column of the table array is where VLOOKUP looks. That's kind of what we're doing here. I can select my membership type, and then in the other table select membership. That's the lookup value from the first table and the first column of the second table. However, in Power Query, it doesn't have to be the first column. It is in my example here, but it doesn't have to be. It's another advantage over VLOOKUP. We then have these different join types, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of those in my last example of this video. For now, we want the left outer join. That is your classic VLOOKUP. And I can see the selection has matched 92 out of 92. Interesting information. If there are any matches that didn't happen, we can cut those out, unlike the VLOOKUP #NA. I can now click OK to perform that merge, and that will take me into the Power Query editor so that I'm able to perform some more steps if I would like to. Now on the right hand side, one thing I'll definitely do is name this query. Merge 1 is maybe not the best name, so I might just call it combined for now, because I can't really think of a better name. And then you can see how the new column brought in is actually the table here. But if I click this button at the top to kind of expand this column, it will allow me to pick which columns from that table I would like to include. So I can just untick the membership, because I already have the membership type in this column. I used it for the lookup, I don't want to repeat it. And definitely uncheck this use original column name as prefix. So I just want to bring the price column across. I shall click OK, and that will bring it across. So now we have the price in that other column. And there are other steps we could perform if we wish to at this point, but I'm going to close and load this into the worksheet, and this will appear as a new table. Here it comes, loading it in, and here we have our new table. I have a table called combined, and this is it. So I mentioned at the start of this how Power Queries can be refreshed much the same way that VLOOKUP updates, although to be fair not automatic like VLOOKUP. If I went back to my members sheet right now, and at the bottom if I was to add another member, if I add maybe Donald Duck, and Donald Duck, let's say, has the platinum membership. Why am I typing platinum? And I press enter on there. Then as I go back to sheet 1 and I right mouse click and refresh, that will update that query, and at the bottom you will see Donald Duck has been added. So I know this data is coming from this worksheet. Bear in mind, one of the greatest strengths is when it's coming straight from external data as opposed to in this worksheet, but they are refreshable and it will constantly bring in that fresh column every time. Now, one of the advantages of using Power Query is that we can bring in multiple columns in one query. So let's see a quick example of that. I've got the merge query that we just created, and I've also now have a table called locations with the member and a city country, so 2 different columns there, and I've established a connection query called locations. What I would like to do is right mouse click my combined query and go into edit that query to bring up the Power Query editor. And then from within here, I'm going to start up another merge query. There's a merge query button at the top of the home tab of the Power Query editor. This will open up the merge window like we saw in the previous example. And I would like to select the locations table. And this time it's going to be the member column, if I select it from each table, which is going to act as the lookup value and the column to look in. And I'm keeping the left outer join kind as a classic VLOOKUP scenario. I click OK. That's going to bring that in as before. I click the button at the top to expand that table. Untick member, the column I was used to looking in, and untick the prefix. And I've got 2 other columns ticked. There could easily be 10 other columns. You can bring in as many as you want, doesn't matter where they are. I click OK, and in they come to this table. And as an additional step this time, I would like to move my membership type column and also move my price column, and just reorder these because I would like them to appear before those 2 columns in my completed table, my combined table, and I can then close and load it back to the worksheet. And those 2 columns are going to be added to my previous table. So now we've got a query that goes into the prices table to get prices, and also into a locations table to grab locations. So I would need 3 different lookups, 3 different VLOOKUPs to achieve that. I've also managed to reorder the columns though, and this would all be updated in one refresh. So if I did go back to my members table, and at the bottom of the members table add someone in there, let's put Mickey Mouse in, and we'll say that Mickey Mouse has a silver membership. And then if I go to the locations table, and I'm going to put Mickey in there as well. So let's put Mickey Mouse in. Helps if I spell it right. In fact, it's essential I do, because it's been used for that lookup. And I'm going to say that Mickey is in Paris, which is in France. And then I'll right mouse click my combined table and refresh. That will load up my fresh data, 94 rows. Let's scroll to the bottom, and we have Mickey Mouse from Paris, France, silver membership, price brought in. So in one quick refresh, all that data is updated from wherever its source may be. So 2 different tables in this example. So a common question for people performing lookup formulas is how to create multiple conditional lookups, how to have it look up for more than one column. So let's look at Power Query achieving that. Now I've got my two base queries again. Once again, it's a members table and a prices table. This time the members table has a type column as well. So not only the membership of Gold, Platinum, Silver, but also a type of family, single or under 21. And if I go to the prices table, you can see the price determined both by type and also membership. So if I right mouse click the members query and choose merge to start up this merge query, this will open my merge window, and I shall choose the prices table from the drop down. This time I shall select type in the first table and then type in the second table to specify those two columns, and the selection match 92 out of 92. But I shall hold down the control key on my keyboard so that I can also select the membership column in the first table, membership column again in the second table. You can see how the little number 1 and 2 appears next to each column, and it's important that they match 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and the left outer join matching 92 out of 92 rows. So now I've got two columns. If I click on OK, that will perform that merge. Here it opens it up in the editor so that I can name my query. I can simply call this combined again. And I can open up the prices table and select which columns I want to bring across, which will just be price without any column prefix. If I click OK, in it comes. I can perform other steps if I need to, but otherwise close and load. And that is how simple it can be for Power Query to look up based on multiple columns. Another common reason that people use lookup formulas is to compare two lists. And people want to know, who is in one list but they're not in another, or which names appear in both lists, and this kind of information. And they want to either return information from the other list or just be identified in some way. So what I've got here is I've got a members list and I've got another members list, and there are some little differences. For example, Sarah Connell and Geeta are in this list, but they're not in this list. And these four members are in that list, but are not in that list. And I would like to use Power Query to compare them. So I've got my two base queries set up. If I right mouse click on my first query and merge, that will open up my merge window. And I shall choose members second from the second list. In this example, it's one column to match them, which is the member number. That's my lookup value. And then we have our join kinds. And so far in this video, we have only used the left outer, which I've deemed the kind of classic VLOOKUP scenario. But from that drop-down list, we have other join types. And for those of you interested in learning more about Power Query, this is definitely something you want to get your head around. You want to have a good understanding of these different join kinds. In this example right now, my interest really relies in the last four. As we can see, we have the full outer, so that will basically combine the two lists and I'd get everybody from both. So there were two members in one but not in another, and there was four in that but not in that one. All of them would come in. We could choose the inner join, where we'd only get those who appear in both lists. We have the left anti and then the right anti. So left anti, only those that appear in the first one. So that will be Sarah Connell and Geeta Patel, they're the only two who are in that list but not in the other. And then the right anti, which will be the 4 members who are in the second one but not the first one. So only the rows that are in the second one only. So rather than demonstrating all 4 of these, I think the description gives the impression really of what they're going to do. I shall select the inner only, so I only want to see those that appear in both lists. I shall click OK, and that will take me into the Power Query Editor with the opportunity to name my query again and potentially perform other steps. If I just name it as inner join, as that is kind of what we did. And then here we have it. I'm not really concerned with expanding that column because I don't want any information from the other table like I have in the previous examples. I just really wanted to return the names of the people who appear in both of the lists. And there are only 7. So if I close and load, that will put it into a table called inner join for me, which can be refreshable in the future as these lists change, and could be operated from external data sources, as opposed to 2 different tables on a sheet. But you can see here that in members I have 9 members, but only 7 have been returned because only 7 of them occur in both lists. So the merge queries can also help us compare lists in various different ways because of the different join types, in a similar way to how we may use lookup formulas like VLOOKUP to do. I hope you found this video useful. Please check out some of our other video tutorials on our YouTube channel and come check us out at Computergaga.com.